A short podcast today, recorded between coughing fits. Now, Charlie will edit out my coughs, but I'm afraid he can't fix my scratchy, congested voice. But not being able to speak that clearly is maybe the perfect time for me to throw a little Russian at you. Because in the 1980s, I was a Russian major, which not everyone knows or understands about me. Certainly my parents never understood it. And I get a special charge out of trotting out some Russian now and then. So my Russian is out of date and out of practice. I mean, I haven't studied it since Putin was a KGB agent in Dresden, acting as a translator. That was a long time ago, and I wonder what he's up to now. So, if you're tempted to mock or criticize my Russian pronunciation, do me a solid. Send me an email and offer me a free coaching session to perfect my delivery of the following. Попробуйте задать себе задачу. Не вспоминать о белом медведе. И увидите, что он проклятный будет поминутно припоминаться. The quotes from Fyodor Dostoevsky's 1863 Winter Notes on Summer Impressions. The translation? Try to pose for yourself this task, not to think of a polar bear. Not to think of a polar bear, and you will see that the cursed thing will come to mind every minute. Okay, ready? Don't do it. Don't think of polar bears. Hello, Vedge Heads, Veg Your Besties. Welcome to Veg Your Best, the plant-based podcast. And my name's Michele Olander. I'm a certified life coach, practicing vegan, and I'm here every week to encourage you to eat more plants and to set an impossible goal, whatever that is for you. And for me, my impossible goal this week is trying to record Veg Your Best, episode 40, with a pretty bad cold. So we're going to try and keep it short and sweet. Episode 40, Stop Thinking About Polar Bears. So what about you? Have you ever made a concerted effort before not to think about a polar bear? Like every day, multiple times a day? Sticky note reminder on the bathroom mirror. Do not think about polar bears. Sign on the fridge. Do not think about polar bears. That reminder message app on the home screen of your phone. Do not think about polar bears. Right? Try not to think of a polar bear and you will see that the cursed thing will come to mind every minute. You're right, Fyodor Dostoevsky. So what, you ask, have polar bears got to do with reducing or eliminating animal products? Why are we talking polar bears on Veg Your Best? Well, when we first try to go plant-based, so many of us are trying all day long not to think about the animal products that we have traditionally built our daily diet around. No meat, no dairy, no eggs, no fish, no polar bears. Right? It's a recipe, get it, for feelings of deprivation. And in the field of psychology, researchers have actually examined this white bear problem, they call it. It's also called the ironic process theory. And get this, in a nutshell, they found that individuals actively trying not to think of something end up thinking of it more often. Ironic? How much research money do you think went into that? And can we file that under No Shitake's Sherlock? We see this all the time when we're trying to live differently, when we're trying to be a new person or get a new result, live in a new way. Maybe you're trying not to think about drinking wine at dinner, or you're trying not to smoke cigarettes, or you're trying to stop calling your ex. For most of us, when we're trying to create a new lifestyle, or when we're fine-tuning our current lifestyle, we have this new habit we want to do, but we also have the thing we want to stop doing. That's the polar bear. And if you're struggling in any way to start or maintain a plant-based or vegan diet, you may find yourself fixated on all those foods that you're trying not to eat. And when you're trying not to eat them, they will seem to be so much bigger, so much more daunting. Foods that you're trying to replace will take up so much more space in your brain. Because instead, we want to make sure that you're equally focused, at least equally focused on what you do want to eat, and equally focused on why you want to eat vegan or plant-based. You need to give yourself the support and the community of like-minded people so what you do want is reinforced and repeated and brought to mind all the time. We've spoken about it here often. When I transitioned to a vegan diet, I listened to plant-based podcasts. I watched so many documentaries. I read books. I had new thoughts and ideas and inspiration to concentrate on, which helped me crowd out those polar bear thoughts of what I didn't want to eat. And sometimes when you're faced with an animal product that seems very enticing, you might even allow the possibility that, sure, you could have it if you make a conscious decision later on, not in the moment. Saying out loud, I can't have it ever again, well, it makes you sound to yourself like a victim. It makes you feel deprivation. Of course you could have it, but you are choosing other options now because the hero of our story makes deliberate and thoughtful choices. I'm talking about you, hero. With the Vedge Your Best coaching process, we support our clients as they learn the skills and thought shifts that make eating plant-based easy. Instead of what you can't eat, you think about all the things you get to eat. You keep yourself rested and nourished, and you help yourself make choices from the most intentional and powerful part of your brain, that prefrontal cortex. And if those polar bear thoughts are sometimes intrusive, and you make a choice that isn't in support of your plant-based plans, you just make the next best decision. That's how you veg your best. Listen, vegans aren't perfect people, and you don't become a practicing vegan by making perfect choices. You become a practicing vegan by practicing. You get to quote Dostoevsky in Russian by practicing. You get to episode 40 of a podcast by showing up every week, even when your voice is not radiating the sort of vegan health and wellness that you would like to model. And spoiler alert, the skills you practice and learn going plant-based or vegan and working with me will supercharge your skills in any endeavor, because no matter what goal you have, there will be polar bear thoughts. I created the Vedge Your Best coaching process specifically to help my clients painlessly and happily transition to a plant-based or a vegan diet. If you think it's hard, I understand you might think that. Ironically, I used to think I could never commit to a vegan diet until I stopped thinking that thought as much as the thought that I can, that it's easy, that I have lots of support. To discuss your goals, book yourself into my calendar through the links in the show notes or email me today at info@micheleolandercoaching.com and we can set up a time to talk about how the Vedge Your Best coaching process could work for you. I'll talk to you next week and it will sound, hopefully, a lot better. До свидания. Vedge Your Best podcast production, music, and editing by Charlie Weinshank. Thanks, Charlie. Before you go, it would mean so much to me and the Vedge Your Best team if you would hit subscribe, leave us a 5-star review, or share with someone you think might be interested. Something about algorithms, it helps bump us up a little in the rankings, and that's the best way to help others find the podcast and for us to find our audience. So, until next week, make it easy and Vedge Your Best.